Hey, what's up YouTube? In this video, I'll be showing you how to make a shulker. Oh, and by the way, just in case you have any more building related needs, I would highly recommend checking out the card system for a very specific playlist. Check out my mob statue tutorials playlist. If you're on a bit of a mob building spree and some other things, check that out right after you've built this because there'll be loads of things in there that I think that you guys might really want to take a look at. Plus, I'll also leave links to loads of videos and playlists in there as well that I think that you guys might really enjoy. But moving on, if you want to make the shulker, here's what you're going to need. You will need some blue stained clay and some magenta stained clay. Then flip up, grab yourself some sandstone block. You will also need some light grey stained clay. Then flip over, grab yourself some white wool, and then grab yourself some black wool. And those are the only materials that you're going to be needing. I know that we grabbed those in a weird order, but you guys will see why we did that a little later on. So once you have each one of those, and once you've figured out where you want to make it, I'll be making it right here. You're going to want to kick off your shulker with this sequence of blocks in a row on the floor. So we want to do this. We want to do one blue clay, then two magenta, one blue, two magenta, one blue, two magenta, one blue, two magenta, one blue, two magenta, one blue. And what you want to have on the floor, guys, should be 5 repetitions of those 2 magenta blocks that you have on the floor. Because I know that this is hard to follow, but you want to have 5 of those magenta sections. So you want to have those on the floor. That's when you know you've finished. Or if you manage to follow along, perfect. Once you have that taken care of, you then want to come to the very right hand side of your row, take a sideways view to it, and going right of it once again, we want to do this pattern one more time. So we want to do 2 magenta, 1 blue, 2 magenta, 1 blue, 2 magenta, 1 blue, 2 magenta, 1 blue, 2 magenta, 1 blue. Like that. And once again, we want to have 5 repetitions of the magenta. Then we want to take a sideways view to what we've just made. Looking back on ourselves, we now want to mirror what we have on that opposite side there. So going right of this block, we want to do 2 magenta, 1 blue, 2 magenta, 1 blue, 2 magenta, 1 blue, 2 magenta, 1 blue, 2 magenta, 1 blue. And again, that's 5 repetitions, and that should line us up with where we started right at the very beginning. Now we just have to connect the left hand side together, and to do that we want to take a sideways view, and we just want to repeat that pattern over and over again until we eventually connect to the front of the statue. So you guys can see we want to have something which should look a little bit like this. And that's perfect, that's exactly what we're after. Now, once you've got that taken care of, this is what you want to do for the next layer. So building directly on top of this layer, we want to do this. For the next layer, we want to reverse the pattern that we've just made. So, for instance, going all the way around the top, where we have blue on the previous layer, we want to place magenta. Where we have magenta, we want to place blue. So on and so forth, going all the way around. So we just want to reverse the pattern that we've made. And the way that I'm going to do this, I'm just going to go all the way around it, anti-clockwise, I believe, because I was at the front. I guess it's kind of difficult to tell. You can start any way you want. You just want to go all the way around. It doesn't really matter which direction, what you do, doesn't matter how you do it. All that matters is that you eventually end up with something that should look a little bit like this. And this looks a little weird actually so far, but that's what you want to have. Now, once you have that taken care of, this is what you want to do next. So once you have that second layer done, we now, on top of each one of the 4 corners, we want to do this. We want to place a magenta stained clay on top of each one of the 4 corners, and either side of that magenta we want to place a blue clay. So on the corners, magenta, then a blue clay either side. So magenta corner, blue clay either side, so on and so forth until we've done that going all the way around. We then want to connect each one of those 4 sides together with a layer of magenta stained clay. So going all the way around in the square shape, we just want to do a layer of magenta stained clay. Have we done it? No, we just have one side left to do. We've just about finished it. Hang on. So we want to have something which should look a little bit like that. Now, once we have that taken care of, this is what we want to do next. So now we have to do the part where I'm going to call it a shell. So the shulker, it lives inside a big giant purple shell, and it connects together with kind of something that looks like teeth. So we're going to do the bottom layer of those. The way that we want to do it, we're on like any side, it doesn't really matter. On any side, come over to the left hand side, and you want to count in, and you want to find the 6th block coming in from the left. So that'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On top of the 6th block, you want to go up by 4. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then go right by 5. We're using the magenta stained clay, I should point out. Then go right by 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then connect down. So you want to have something which should look like that. Fill in the center part of the shape that you have just made with magenta. And that is one of the teeth. Not only do you want to do this on the front, left, right, and back, but you want to do it on all of them. So we're now on this side. I know where it begins. I know that this is the 6th block in. So on the 6th block in, we go by 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We then go right by 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we connect down and we fill in the center. So remember, 6th block in, up by 4, right by 5, connect down. You've got it. So now on the back, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then connect down, then just fill in the center block. We only have one left to do after this, so we're on the final side here. We want to, on top of the 6th block coming in from the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, then right by 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then connect down like that. And then we just want to fill the center part of what we've just made in with magenta stained clay. And what we'll end up with should look a little bit like this. And that's perfect, guys. That is exactly what we are after. Now, once you have that taken care of, this is what you want to do next. So the next order of business, I suppose, is figuring out which side of this is going to be the front of your shulker, since it does matter. So this, for instance, this is the front side of my shulker where I've just placed the sandstone. Once you yourself have figured that out, you now want to come all the way over to the left-hand side of your shulker, and you still want to be looking towards the back, so you want to be in this position. On top of this very front magenta block, kind of like of this tooth, you guys can see where we are. We want to, on top of this, using your white wool, go up on top of this by 2 with the white, then go right by 4 with the white, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. We then want to continue going right, do a row of 6 sandstone. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like that. You should notice that that row of 6 sandstone is in line with the tooth that you have on the front. So we can now destroy the white wool because we no longer need that. Now, on top of this row of sandstone, going from left to right, do this sequence of blocks. Do 2 light grey stained clay, 2 sandstone, 2 light grey. For the next row, do 1 white, 1 black, 2 sandstone, 1 black, 1 white. For the next row, do an entire row of light grey clay. For the next 2 rows, do 2 layers of sandstone. That would be 1 and 2. Like this. That is the face of your shulker. What we now want to do is this. So come behind the face of the shulker, and you can see where we have this solid row of light grey stained clay. We want to take blocks number 1 and blocks number 6 and extend them, coming towards the back of the shulker each by 5. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then connect each one of those 5th blocks together, like so. We now, underneath this layer of light grey clay, we want to do layers of sandstone until we reach the bottom of the shulker. You guys might be able to see where we're going with this. And on top of this, we want to do layers of sandstone until we reach the, in line with the top of the shulker. We're just forming a nice big giant sandstone square, of which is the shulker's body. That's what we're doing. That's all we're doing. That's all we have to do. So once we've got that taken care of, we can then focus on the rest of the shell, because we have the lower half of the shell, which is the smaller half, definitely the smaller half. Also remember to fill in the tops and bottom of the head of your shulker, which is the smaller half of the shell, the lower half. So we're going to have to put a little bit more effort into the upper half, and it's a little bit more difficult because it is suspended in the air, but it's going to be okay anyway. So there we go, guys. That is the head of your shulker bouncing out of its shell. Once you have that taken care of, this is what you want to do next. So take out your white wool again. On top of the front left-hand corner of the head of your shulker, this block right here, we want to go up by 2 with the white. We then want to go left by 1. Then we want to come towards us by 4. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Then place a magenta stained clay. You can then destroy the white wool that you've just placed. And just in case you're wondering if you've managed to get this right, so this magenta stained clay, it should be on the outside of the left of the bottom tooth that you have on the front of the statue, and it should also be 1 block higher than the head of the shulker. It should actually leave a gap of 1. Just in case you're wondering whether you've got that right, whether that's been positioned correctly, you'll know if you've met that criteria. Now what we want to do is this. So we want to, going left of this magenta, go left by 3 with the magenta, that's 1, 2, 3. Then do a blue stained clay. Then go up on top of this blue stained clay with this sequence of blocks. And this is very similar to what we did earlier, except I guess it's on a slightly smaller scale. So we want to go up on top of this by 2 of the magenta, 1 of the blue. 2 magenta, 1 blue. 2 magenta, 1 blue. 2 magenta, 1 blue. That should leave us with 4 repetitions of the 2 magenta. We then want to go right of this top dark blue clay, and we want to go right of it with that same sequence of blocks, and just as we did down below, we now want to have 5 repetitions of the magenta. So to put this into perspective, we want to go right by 2 magenta, 1 blue. 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 Like I said, 5 repetitions. We then want to go down from this blue clay by 4 repetitions by 2 magenta, 1 blue, 2 magenta, 1 blue, 2 magenta, 1 blue, 2 magenta, 1 blue. We then want to go left of this bottom blue by 4 with the magenta, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. We then want to go up by 4 with the magenta, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. We then want to go left by 7, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we want to go down. That should connect us all the way back down to where we first started, and it should give you a pretty clear idea on how this is going to go. Now, that's how the shell of the Shulker is pretty much going to look, but we do have a little bit more to add to it. So what we want to do is this. Take out your blue stained clay. On the inside of the left, upper, and right hand sides of the shell, you want to do this with your blue stained clay. In between, or on the outer parts of the magenta clay, you want to add a layer of blue clay. So coming inwards, you want to, on the left, upper, and right hand sides, you want to add a layer of blue clay coming inwards from the layer of magenta clay. So you want to have something which should look like that. Once you've done that, you can then proceed to just completely fill in the inside of the shape that is left. So we can just completely fill in this front part of the shell. And we're going to be doing a very, very similar thing on both the left, the right, and the back parts of our Shulker. So this is pretty much the front. It kind of sets up what we're going to be doing all the way around this thing. But I'm going to be hanging in there with you guys, and we'll get this thing figured out, because it is slightly different, and I do mean ever so slightly different on the sides, not the back, on the sides. And I guess we'll run through that. But you want to have something which should look a little bit like this so far, and I think that already looks fantastic. Once you have that taken care of, this is what you want to do next. So let's come to the right hand side here for our Shulker, and this is what we're going to do. So we want to take this bottom left hand blue clay, and we want to go right of this by 4 with the magenta, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, so coming towards the back. We then want to go up by 1 with the magenta, then 1 with the blue, go up by 2 with the magenta. We then want to go right by 7 with the magenta, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We then want to go down by 1 with the magenta, 1 dark blue, 2 magenta. Then go right by 3 with the magenta, then 1 with the blue stained clay. You then want to go up on top of this blue stained clay, very similarly to how we've been doing it all along. So we want to have 4 repetitions of the magenta pattern. So on top of this dark blue, we want to do 2 magenta, 1 blue, 2 magenta, 1 blue, 2 magenta, 1 blue, 2 magenta, 1 blue. We then want to go left of this, and we want to repeat that very same pattern, 2 magenta, 1 blue, so on and so forth. We want to repeat this pattern until we connect back to the front, so you guys can see what we have here. What we then want to do is we want to go all the way around the inside of the shape that we formed. Inside of the parts where we have magenta stained clay, we want to add blue stained clay. Can you guys remember how we did this? I'm sure you can. It wasn't too long ago. So where you have magenta stained clay, you want to place blue stained clay on the left, right, and upper parts of this side. Except now we want to do something a little bit different. So can you see where we have the blue clay here on the inner part of like the tooth area? Well, on the left, from the left blue clay that we have here, we want to up left diagonally place a blue clay, then do a bottom left diagonal. And that kind of just connects to the front of the shell. On the right hand side here, we want to, from this inner blue clay, we want to do an upright diagonal followed by a bottom right diagonal to give us something which should look a little bit like this. Ever so slightly different, but it is different. Not only do you want to do this on the right hand side, but we want to do this on the left. So I'm going to fill this all in one go a little later. So once you've got that side taken care of, why don't we do the exact same thing on this opposite side? So we're now on the left hand side of the shulker, and we're taking this very bottom blue stained clay, and we want to go left of this by 4 with the magenta clay. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. We then want to go up by 1, do 1 blue stained clay coming up, then come up by 2 with the magenta clay. We then want to go left by 7 with the magenta. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We then want to go down 1, place a blue clay, down 2, then left by 3 with the magenta. That's 1, 2, 3. Then 1 with the blue clay. We then want to go up on top of this 4 repetitions of the 2 magenta and 1 dark blue. So that'll be 2 magenta, 1 dark blue, 2 magenta, 1 dark blue, 2 magenta, 1 dark blue, 2 magenta, 1 dark blue. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. We then want to go right of that with the same pattern until we eventually connect all the way back to the front. So we want to have something which should look like this. What we then want to do is we want to add the layer of blue stained clay all the way around the inside. So remember, on the inside parts where we have magenta clay, we want to add the layer of blue clay. So on the insides of this, we want to add our layers of blue clay. So we want to have something which should look a little bit like this. Once we've done that, we then want to place the clay that kind of stems from the center part here. So from this left hand clay, for instance, we want to do an up left diagonal followed by a bottom left diagonal. And on the right inside part, we want to do an up right diagonal followed by a bottom right diagonal. So we want to have something which should look a little bit like that, and that is perfect. That's exactly what we want. Now, once we have that taken care of, once again, we do have to fill this in a little bit later on, but that's later on. We now want to move on to the back of the shulker. So we're now here. What we can do is this. So you can see at the back of the shulker, right at the top, where we have these top 2 blue stained clays, we can connect these together with that same pattern that we've been using. We can do 2 magenta, 1 blue, 2 magenta, 1 blue, so on and so forth, until we connect the top part to the top part. So we just want to have something which should look like that. Now, coming down to the bottom left hand part of the back, we want to, going right of this blue clay, go right by 4 with the magenta. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. We then want to go up by 4 once again with the magenta. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. We want to go right by 7, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then down by 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then we want to go right until we connect all the way back over to the right hand side to give us this sort of shape. Perfect. All we then have to do with our blue stained clay, we want to add that layer of blue stained clay that kind of sits inside of the shulker that we've made. So where the magenta stained clay is, we want to add the layer of blue stained clay all the way around the inside to give us something which should look exactly like that. Now, once you've done that to the back, we also have a similar thing to do at the top. So if we come all the way up to the top of our shulker, you'll notice that we have a load of magenta stained clay on the inside. Well, we want to add a dark blue to it. So coming up to the top of the shulker where we have the magenta stained clay on the outside, coming 1 row inwards, we want to add the layer of blue stained clay. So exactly how we have done quite a few times already, we just kind of want to add a nice little border on the inside of it. Now, once you've got that taken care of, there are only 2 things left to do. Let me explain to you what those 2 things are. So that is pretty much the entire thing complete. All we have to do is, right at the bottom of the shulker, inside of the shell, we want to add a layer of blue stained clay in this position, just before where the teeth start. So in line with the 3rd row at the bottom of the shulker, we want to fill it in with dark blue clay. I keep saying dark blue clay, but blue clay, you guys know what I'm talking about. We want to do blue clay like that all across the bottom. Plus, on the inside part of the shulker, we want to add a layer of blue stained clay that kind of starts in the same place for the top half of the shulker. So we want to add a layer of blue stained clay, like just above where the teeth start, and it wants to you just want to do a layer of blue stained clay, just so that the thing isn't hollow, just so that there's a little bit of darkness. Just, I don't know, it's like this on the actual shulker itself, so I figured you may as well add it. If not, you don't have to add it if you don't feel like it. But layer of blue clay right here at the bottom, layer of blue clay at the top, and of course we have to fill in the top half of the shulker with the magenta stained clay. Now, this is going to take a while, and I don't really want to do it on recording, to tell you guys the truth, so I'm going to go away, and I'm going to be back in just a moment, because it would be just a moment for you guys, but trust me, it's going to be a few minutes for me. I'll be back in just a moment once I've actually filled this thing in, so I'll be adding those 2 layers of blue and all of that magenta, and then we'll take a look at this thing, because we'll be finished. Back in a mo. So this is what the shulker looks like once it has been 100% fully filled in. Just to show you guys the parts which were previously empty, you can see that the entire top of the shell, that is being filled in with the magenta stained clay. Right here, just at the base, that is being filled in with blue clay, and right here, just above the shulker for the top part, that is being filled in with blue clay as well. So the end result is actually quite nice. I really like it. You may notice that I've lit it up just a little bit with the torches, just because it is a bit dark, obviously, because it's got a big, giant, essentially, parasol covering the head of the shulker. It's a little bit dark if you don't use torches, but you don't have to do this on your actual one if you don't mind. Or, if you wanted to, on the actual version, you could put in, like, a glass ceiling, so it's still got lighted, so it'd still look like... it would still look light. My god, I got it out there in the end. It'd still look light if you actually put glass in the top, if you kind of had like a glass ceiling of like magenta stained glass or something. But anyway, that is the shulker. Hopefully you guys like this. Hopefully you've managed to make it. And if you've done both of those things, I'd really appreciate it if you could give this video a like, a favourite, a share. Let me know if you have really liked it, because I love this statue. I like this mob a lot. I wasn't going to bother making it until it actually properly got released, but god, I love this thing so much. I don't know what it is about this. I love the design. I think it's really cool, and there's something a little bit comical about it as well. This big giant shell creature kind of like teleporting around, springing at you. I don't know, it's like a Pokemon or something. But like, favorite, share if you wouldn't mind. Comment down below, let me know what you want me to make next. I have very few mobs left to make, but I'm sure that you guys might want to point them out among other things that you want me to build. Check out the card system for my mob statue tutorials playlist, among other videos and playlists that I'll be leaving in there for you guys. So hopefully you guys like it. Like, favorite, share if you wouldn't mind. Comment down below, check out the card system. I'll see you guys in the next video.